Welcome back to another episode of Pack the Rock podcast. As always, Liv, Will, Neva, Ava, Jesus, and Nick. And I want to go into the bracket. So right off the jump, CFP came out and it's finally finalized. We've talked about it for a couple weeks now, where we thought IU was going to end up. And in the rankings, they are 8th in the spot, 10th in the bracket, going against Notre Dame, the Fighting Irish. When you guys first saw the bracket, what did you think? Initial thoughts, I guess, where IU was specifically.
Committee got it right, I think.
Okay.
I think they got it right. I didn't think Bama should be in. And I think if Nick Saban wants to talk about, oh, well, we should just schedule cupcakes in the non-con and not worry about strength of schedule ever again. You played Mercer in November. You got walloped by Oklahoma and you lost to Vanderbilt as the number one team in the nation. Those are conference games. So Bama should have probably won those if they wanted to get in. But they didn't, so they're out. I think that, Texas probably has the easiest walk to the semifinals because they got Clemson. Clemson is only in because they won the ACC. And Arizona State, obviously, conference champ, Power 4. I think Texas would probably beat them by 21. And then they'd probably get Oregon in the semifinals after that. But Texas has a really easy path. Indiana getting Notre Dame is like the best possible outcome for us, as since we're covering the game.
There's people who have to drive to the game.
Exactly.
Rejoice.
And we don't have to go to State College. We don't have to go to Athens. We don't have to go to Austin. It's just, 4 hours up the road.
Wait a minute. You don't want to make a 20-hour drive to Austin, Texas? Or 18 to Georgia? I wouldn't fly.
Yeah, Georgia's actually it's 12 hours?
It's I think it's more than that.
Yeah. We'll have to ask Daniel Flick.
Yeah, Flick would be, actually, he flies though.
Oh, he does.
He does.
I'll take some of his frequent flyer miles.
There you go. Now we're thinking.
He's probably got a lot, but yeah. I think the committee made the right decision.
And so it's interesting you say that you feel like Texas kind of has the easier route. Is there a team that you feel like kind of got screwed over? I think it was interesting. Everyone talks about Ohio State and Tennessee in that Oregon group. Do you guys agree that was kind of...
Yeah, I feel like if there's any path that is screwed over, it's definitely Oregon. You've got to play the winner of Tennessee and Ohio State, and everybody else, Penn State essentially could skate through theirs. Texas is going to skate through theirs. Indiana and Notre Dame, you've got to deal with Georgia next, so that's not necessarily a skate through, but that Tennessee and Ohio State match is going to be really interesting, and then whoever has to play that has to play Oregon. I'd be interested to see how Dan Lanning handles Tennessee, but I would also be really intrigued to see another rematch of that Oregon-Ohio State game, especially how down to the wire it came last time, and it was almost ultimately due to just mistakes and errors on Ohio State's side, really.
Do you guys feel like IU should have gotten ranked higher with just one loss? Do you think it's just because they're IU, or do you think that does make sense with one loss that you're in the 10th seed?
Well, you got to think the top 4 spots, they're already occupied. No matter what, they're not going to win those. You got 12-0 Oregon. And then obviously Penn State had the spot over them because of the, oddest tiebreaker in the world. And then you look at the teams above them. It makes sense who's above them. It's teams that have a ranked win or a stronger strength of schedule. And I know we've talked about it all season. You can't control who you play in front of you. But sometimes you just get dealt a bad hand. Indiana, it looked like a tough schedule at the beginning of the year. It didn't turn out that way. And granted, they beat everybody by a considerable margin. And there's some breakdown of stats where Indiana's got a larger margin of victory than most of the teams above them. But still, they're going to play they didn't play anybody and it's all that. And it's, it's just a bad hand, right? You're not going to win with a bad hand. And Indiana did the best they could. They made do with what they could outside of beating Ohio State. So I don't see a problem with where Indiana fell out and shook out and everything.
I want to say it's interesting, Nick, you brought up Bama, and Saban did say we were not going to take in a conference strength of schedule. Teams should schedule whoever they want. And so do you guys feel like with Bama and Miami, I think interestingly also being out, do you guys agree with the first 2 teams out?
Miami shouldn't have lost to Georgia Tech.
That would be a really good idea.
Yeah.
Professional analysis.
Also, the fact that Cam Ward is a Heisman finalist is kind of weird to me.
Yeah, I thought that too.
He's gonna get the Bo Nix treatment where he gets the invite to New York. He gets all the press, but he doesn't have a prayer of winning it. And I don't know. I also think that Yeah, Miami shouldn't have lost to Georgia Tech because they beat Georgia Tech. They're probably in the playoff, but they're not. So they get to go play in the what
I
bowl?
think it's Pop-Tart Bowl.
The Pop-Tart Bowl.
They got Pop-Tarted.
Yeah, well, and Alabama and Michigan get a national champ or a Rose Bowl rematch in the
Tampa Bay, Florida.
Yeah, the ReliaQuest Bowl,
I can't even say the word.
which
whatever it
actually
is.
Indiana played in. It was the Outback Bowl back then, but now it's the
Oh.
ReliaQuest Bowl. Yeah,
Rip Outback Bowl.
that was when they played Ole
Yeah.
Miss.
My
And
dog.
Jack Tuttle played with a separated shoulder, but
Oh.
yeah, no. You want to be in the playoff, beat the teams you're supposed to beat. It really is that simple. Indiana did that. Miami didn't. Alabama didn't. And the committee saw that. And thankfully for SMU, they made the right decision because SMU got walked off in their conference title game. I think they deserve to be in the same way Penn State obviously deserved to be in.
Is it a bummer that Rourke is not a Heisman finalist, or was it kind of just something that was predicted?
I mean, it like sucks. You want to see people from your program go and be Heisman finalists, sure. But I mean, we talked about it a few weeks ago why he probably wouldn't be in that spot. And again, like the 1 year turnaround has been insane. You know, they're losing Tino next year, but as Kurt Signetti said in his press conference, like you lose someone, you hire someone better. They're going to be in that same position. And
Crazy bar.
and yeah, that was a crazy bar. And they're going to be in that same position again, whether it's a quarterback or another position player. And so, you know, we kind of knew, I think, you know, he hurts his thumb out for Washington. That's kind of when the campaign ended, low key.
Yeah, it was
And, you know, it is what it is. It sucks. But the fact that he was in those conversations and all that stuff, like, you at least have that.
So who's your guys' Heisman?
Ashton Genty.
Oh.
Correct.
Oh,
Ava,
Ashton
Ava's
Genty.
in her bag.
you agree?
Yeah, absolutely.
If
How
you
do
have
you
any
not?
other answer, get out.
Well, we all know what everyone's other answer
Nick, you're pretty
is.
silent over here.
We all know everyone's
Nick?
other answer is.
Yeah. The argument against Ashton Genty is that, he hasn't played anybody. My counter argument to that is he went for 3 touchdowns and almost 200 yards against Oregon in Eugene.
I was about to say, didn't he play Oregon?
He played Oregon. And
Like,
then
a point.
you could say to that Oregon was not that good at that point in the year, but then you're just moving the goalposts to move the goalposts. The fact is Ashton Genty is doing something that we've seen very few running backs do ever at the college level. 2,500 rushing yards and 29 touchdowns. He's basically impossible to tackle.
He's
and-
like $160 away from the record, isn't he?
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, he's
Which
gonna
hit.
He's going to
next
hit the
game.
record. I mean, the fact that like his over-under rushing yard prop is like 170 every week, that's insane. It's like if I turned the difficulty down on Madden and just went hog wild. That's not normal. And, you know, Travis Hunter staying into stat pad against Oklahoma State just to make his numbers look better. If Ashton Genty had played the entire game in Boise State's blowout wins, he would be a runaway Heisman winner by now. But the fact is that he didn't because he's a running back. So obviously, you know, the attrition rate is high. You want to keep him healthy. Travis Hunter stays into stat pad against Oklahoma State. Terrible, horrible, no good, very bad Big 12 team. And everybody's like, oh, he's the greatest player ever. Yes, he's a great two-way player. I think Ashton Genty still deserves it.
Snaps are not a stat.
I was just about to pull that picture up.
Snaps
Yeah.
are
I was
not
just about
a
to pull up the
stat.
Oregon Duck.
I don't care that. Well, it's cool. He plays 2 ways. Great for him. Love it. Snaps are not a stat. It's how you play those.
But the argument for that, snaps aren't a stat, yes.
The Doug said it, guys. The Doug said it.
It is, though, it is impressive what Travis Hunter is doing
No, it
on
is
both
impressive.
sides of the
I
ball.
will agree on that. It is impressive.
And there aren't many guys at the college level who can do what he is doing on both sides at the same
There
time.
aren't any. There's not anybody that can do what he's doing.
Yeah, so by that standpoint, I think the snaps aren't a stat thing is kind of flawed because
No, it's just kind of funny.
for what Hunter is doing now, like it's impressive. And that said, the last time we had a Heisman winner playing in the Alamo Bowl was Robert Griffin III in 2011.
He was kind of a runaway favorite, though.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but RG3, you know, he was a quarterback. He was at Baylor. He was nuts.
He was that guy.
RG3 was one of those ones.
Yeah, I don't know that Travis Hunter is RG3 level, but yeah, it's comparing apples to grapefruits because RG3 was a quarterback. But yeah, I think Genty in the playoff, it's just he basically carried Boise State to the playoff, and Travis Hunter did not do so with Colorado.
Is there any chance for Dylan Gabriel?
No.
No.
He and Curtis Rourke actually have very similar numbers. The only difference is Rourke did not stay healthy for the whole season.
Right.
I'll tell you what, though, Dylan Gabriel can spin it. He's really fun to watch. I'd like to see him against Ohio. By the way, Ryan Day having to face Tennessee, Oregon, and probably Texas to try to save his job.
Gauntlet.
Oh,
Gauntlet.
no. Oh, no. I would not want to be him right now.
I want to get back to IU, and all Big Ten selections were out. And Aiden Fisher and Elijah Surratt, Curtis Rourke, Signetti, D'Angelo Pons. Do you guys agree that that was probably the core group for IU this season that led them to the playoffs?
Yeah, there were a couple.
Is there anyone out that's missed?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I can't think of names off the top of my head, but when I did initially see that list come out, I liked the names that were on it, but there were a few, boys, you might disagree with me or agree, I don't know, but I feel like there were a few names left off, personally. You can't put everybody on it.
Nobody on the O-line felt a little ridiculous.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Like, there's 15 guys there, and we couldn't get one Indiana player voted in there for the top 5 unit in the country.
Yep.
That
Brand.
feels a little ridiculous.
Brand. Logo. Name.
Logos. Illinois is in there. Wait a minute. We can't play we got Illinois guys in Minnesota. Actually, that's a first round pick. I need to chill out.
Yeah.
A series of first round pick. But yeah, no Indiana O lineman is a little surprising, and by a little I mean extremely.
Well, I think that a lot of people may have seen the way that they played against Ohio State.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Broke it
And
down.
that O-line looked like my college football 25 dynasty O-line in the first season. Just nothing. And again, the Ohio State's got dudes on dudes on dudes on defense. But yeah, you play some of the best competition and you look like Swiss cheese. I think that's going to kind of hurt your all-conference chances. The fact is that's what happened. And Indiana just that Ohio State game I think kind of did a lot in the minds of like the national media, people that don't watch Indiana every game.
Right.
Just when they get put on the biggest stage and they play like that. I think that's kind of why that shook out the way it did.
It was a tough watch.
Yes.
Also, where is CJ West? No CJ West feels like a crime. Possibly a crime against humanity. This is crazy. I mean, that's the best nose tackle in the Big Ten. I'm not even going to hear debate. Where is he on the list? What are we doing?
Another big stage IU is going to be playing on is possibly against Georgia. And I want to say, with Georgia's quarterback, Carson Beck, he's out for the playoffs. I'm going to just go ahead and say it now.
Oh, yeah.
No,
it's yeah.
He tore his UCL.
Yeah,
It's
He's
Tommy
done.
John.
Yeah.
You came back in for overtime, but sorry, we're going to, again, have you out for the playoffs. But does that actually feed into Notre Dame and IU's favor? Do you guys really think it'll be that big of a game changer?
Yeah.
Sources
No one
say
can
that a
see it, they're
starting
shaking their-
quarterback being out
Yeah.
is a big deal.
Gunnar
Ask
Stockton.
Florida State.
Yeah.
Ask Florida State would be my answer to that.
Gunnar Stockton threw a game-losing pick six, and it wasn't taken back to the house because a Texas defender was celebrating instead of throwing a block. If he throws a block, Texas wins the game. Gunnar Stockton, as good of a story as he is, he was, 6 of 14 for 70 yards and a pick?
That actually sounds dead on, yeah.
If Georgia's going to win the Sugar Bowl, it's not behind Gunnar Stockton. It's behind Trevor Etienne, their running game, and their defense, which are very, very good.
Yeah, they're kind of top unit in the country.
Yeah.
Bit of an
But
issue.
it's not going to be with quarterback play, so that makes their offense very one-dimensional. And I think that is good for whoever wins out of Notre Dame or Indiana. I think they're going to have a real chance going to the Sugar Bowl.
So, what team do you think is stronger, Notre Dame or Indiana? Because many people are saying this is very similar on each side of the ball. Do you guys agree?
I mean, yeah, it is. It's two teams that are based off the run. They're top rushing offenses in the country. The thing is, both their defenses are also top in the country. Indiana's is marginally better to number 1 in the country, and Ohio State's is number 9. I mean, you're picking frog hairs at this point. It's very marginal differences in those two factors. The largest difference is the passing attack. Obviously, Curtis Rourke has had a better statistical season than Riley Leonard. But Riley Leonard has 800 yards on the ground. And he can also make the throws when he needs to. He's not like Aiden Childs, who's about the only rushing quarterback Indiana's seen all year, who could only run and make a throw once a quarter. Riley can make them consistently when he needs to make them. He'll throw the fade ball when he needs to, and it'll hit his tight end. The problem is if his tight end or if his receiver will catch the football. They seem to have the Georgia issue where guys will just drop it if it hits them in the hands. Apparently that's the worst spot to hit a receiver at Notre Dame. But on paper and even just watching on film, it's very, very similar teams. It's 4-down linemen. They're going to send heat on 3rd down. They're going to play physical defense over the top, and it's going to be a lot of man. There's not much difference there.
How big of a factor will it be? Will it be that it is at Notre Dame Stadium, whether with fans, with limited tickets for IU? But do you still feel like it was still
Indiana
like
fans
an
will find
Indiana
a way.
game?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's going to be red.
Yeah,
I
there's going to
mean,
be a lot of
There's
red.
going to be red.
It helps. I mean, sure, it helps Notre Dame that it's in their place, it's in their home, but you're still in Indiana. You're still like a 4-hour car ride away, and Indiana, like they've always said, like Indiana fans will find a way, for sure.
You guys remember Ohio State?
They found a way almost all season.
Yeah, I mean, it was what, a
At
third?
UCLA, they were loud.
Yeah.
That was in California.
Well, UCLA football doesn't have many fans, so that's different. You can't compare UCLA
But it was
football to
it was
Notre
all
Dame.
the way in California. That's across the country, and this is
That's why we have airplanes.
4. Okay, thank you, Nick.
Breaking
This
news.
is guys. This is 4 hours up the road.
IU fans are gonna make it happen, but let's just say this: ticket prices are insane right now.
For now.
That's true. That's what I was about to say. For now, right now they're like almost $2,000 per ticket, but
They up? It was like 1,100 yesterday.
IU fans are gonna have to cross their fingers, okay? Because they're gonna make it happen. But at the end of the day, who do you think would be a better matchup for Georgia? Unbiased opinion. Who do you actually think would make it a game against Georgia? IU, Notre Dame. Comments, concerns, anyone?
I don't think I could take a guess at who would play better against Georgia. I'd have to
Okay.
see these two play against each other to make an educated guess. Because I want to see Indiana on a big stage. I haven't seen that outside of Ohio State. Obviously, no one has. And we haven't seen Notre Dame against a tough opponent outside of like week 2 with Louisville. I mean, Army, they beat
week
on
two,
Army
Week 2 was Northern Illinois, and we know how that went.
the hard way.
Also, they
Week-
beat A&M in College Station, but A&M
was
was
week
a very
1.
A&M was a very different team.
That's a very questionable team anyways.
Yeah.
They beat Army, but Army can't pass the football. And
Yes.
Notre Dame's front seven is the core of their defense, obviously. But it's one of the best front sevens in the country, and they knew what Army's going to do, obviously. Everybody knew what Army's going to do.
Yeah.
I want to see them against a balanced offense like Indiana and see how well they can respond, and not to mention how they can fare against the top rushing defense in the country and then the top 2 defense in the country overall.
So let's go down and say score predictions, because who's going to win the first round of the playoffs? IU, Notre Dame. And Will, you have to go first.
I'm going to say Indiana's going to edge this game out. It's going to come down to the passing attack, I think. Both rushing games are going to be not as efficient as they've been all year because of the rushing defenses. And I think if it comes down to a quarterback duel, Riley Leonard's not going to be able to keep up with Curtis Rourke. Rourke's going to be able to chuck it a little bit. But that doesn't mean I'm going to think that doesn't mean I think it's going to be a high-scoring affair. It's still the middle of December. It's still 2 college teams that are in a big environment. I'm going to take Indiana like 20-17.
Love. Close game. Okay. Ava?
I agree with Will. I think Indiana is going to edge this one out. Literally everything that Will said. Not going to be high scoring. It's going to come down to it. I say, I don't know. I just think that I could see it coming down to a field goal. And that if Indiana's O-line recognizes things a little better, the offense shows up a little more. You've got that defense that's consistently gotten better all through the season, game by game. Even when you think they can't do anymore, they do. And, if Notre Dame will crack. I do think that there will get to a point where Notre Dame will crack.
And, of course, give us the breakdown.
Yeah.
Play-by-play?
Nah, Notre Dame's got some dudes. They've got some dudes, especially on offense.
Jeremiah Love.
Yeah, Jeremiah Love and
Yikes.
Jadarian Price. I mean,
Yikes.
a
squared.
fantastic tandem. They've combined for like 1,500 yards and 23 touchdowns. And oh, by the way, Jeremiah Love has over 1,000 yards from scrimmage. Riley Leonard.
1,200.
Yeah. Riley Leonard is like a Haynes King that can actually throw the football a little bit. And That's going to be interesting because Indiana hasn't really faced a dual threat quarterback like that. You might say he looks a little Mahomey.
Relax.
Okay.
You're done. Actually, cut his mic.
Yeah,
He's
we're going
done.
to cut it off there.
Okay.
But yeah, no. Indiana and Notre Dame extremely similar. Productive offenses, efficient defenses. Notre Dame, though, is very bad in the kicking game. And in these kinds of games, not that special teams never doesn't matter, but Notre Dame is 8 of 18 kicking field goals this season. They've used 3 different kickers. Mitch Jeter, Zach Yoakum, and Marcelo Diamidi, I think is how you say his name.
What a name.
Yeah, but they are combined 8 of 18. Mitch Jeter is kind of their go-to right now, and he's 6 of 12 on the year. Somebody's going to need to make a big play on special teams to win this game. It's either going to be on special teams or it's going to be Curtis Rourke hucking the ball 65 yards down the field to Waffle House or to Omar Cooper.
He catches it.
I think Indiana takes it. I said this yesterday on Hoosier Game Day. I think it'll be 2019 Indiana. I think it comes down to special teams. Nicholas Radicic might make a big kick. Notre Dame might miss one. It might be another Keyshawn Williams punt return that sets it up. But it's going to come down to special teams. These teams are so similar that those kinds of plays, I think, will make a difference.
So close game. So you guys have us all like on the edge of our seats, like almost having a panic attack, basically in the fourth quarter.
Well, that's what college football
Okay.
playoff
Yeah,
football is all
welcome to the
about.
playoff,
Yeah.
actually.
That's what it's all about.
That's good football.
Yeah.
Perfect. Well, IU Notre Dame is going to be in the first round, and whoever wins that will go against Georgia and to hopefully take it all the way from Pack the Rock podcast. As always, Liv, Nick, Ava, and Will, and we'll see you guys next week.